Alright, in this video we are going to see how to create a login system with Laravel. So just uh, just to show you what we are going to create is, if suppose I want to log in and get into a URL called home, I won't be able to access until I am logged in. So if I search for home and hit enter, I am not able to access it because it is protected with middleware. So to access it, I have to register myself and then I have to log in. So let me register myself as UI monk, and the company name, the email address, and the password, phone number, some random values. And are you existing customer? No. Click on register, and now it says you are registered successfully. Now you can get into the login, and now you can use the credential which you have used while registering. Click on login. Now you will have access to the home. So now if I log out and try to access the home again, I won't be able to access until I logged in with the account which I have created. Cool. Now I can have access to the home. Once I log out, I won't be able to access. So what is special in this course, in this video, is we would be seeing how to merge these two fields and save it as a single field. So in the phone you will see it is area code and your phone number. It is area code and your phone number. These two are merged into a single value, and if it is registered, and here we are passing the yes or no value also in the database. Is registered, you can see, and this is the form. I'm using it from the color live. I leave the link in the description. Just download it and start along with me. Now along with this URL you will find the source code of this project which I am working on in the description. In case if you got stuck somewhere, just copy paste it and start coding with me. Now the very first thing what you have to do is you have to open command prompt. So in the command prompt we have to navigate to the C drive. Make sure your XAMPP is running. So change directory again, change directory XAMPP, change directory htdocs, change directory Laravel projects is where all our Laravel projects are, and inside the Laravel project we need to create Laravel. So here the code for creating Laravel folder is this one. So composer is the command that you are giving. Create a project and download the Laravel package and name it as subscriber 5, and the preferred Laravel version is 8.6.3. As you click on enter, it will start download. Now our Laravel package is ready. Now we have to get into the subscriber. CD subscriber 5 is the latest folder that we have created, and inside that we have to create we have to install one more package which is Laravel UI package, and after Laravel UI package you have to install the Laravel Authentication. So it's necessary for login logout system. That's the reason we are installing this Laravel auth. So once you create auth, you will see in the resources a folder called auth would be created, and inside that auth folder we'll be having our login and register page. And now let's just install the auth, and it says you have to install npm install and npm run dev. You can see here it says you have to do this, and now what you have to do is you have to run one more time npm run dev so that you can see the table. Npm run dev. Until and unless you see the table, that means your Laravel is not properly installed. Alright, now it's ready. Now we can open our Visual Studio Code in the with the Laravel with this command prompt just by typing code dot. And now we have to connect our Laravel folder with the database. So for that we have to create database localhost phpMyAdmin, and over here, and now click on new, and over here subscriber 5 is the database that I'm going to create right now. Click on create, and once it is created you have to get into env file, and we have to link this Laravel folder with our php or database, php mysql database, and here this is the database name, and this is username, and this is for password. Since I am using XAMPP, the default username is root and the default password is blank, and if you click on save, and that's it. And now we have to create a controller. So why controller? Let me just run the server php artisan serve. So it will give you a IP address with port number from where you can run your Laravel project in the browser. So this is the IP address and the port. So 127 is localhost for IP address, 8000 is the port number, and if I search for login, what should happen? The login page should show up. So we are going to convert this HTML, you can see .html, to the login page. As of now, this is how it looks, but we don't want this. We have to create. We want our login page to be like this. So in that case, let's just create a controller first. Why controller? Because if I search for register, the controller is responsible for redirecting it to that view. So let's create a controller. You can search for controller code. You can close this, and now for the controller we can name it as, let me open a new command prompt so that we don't have to close the running server. So cd change directory XAMPP, change directory htdocs, change directory Laravel projects, and over here I am saying to the artisan that make a controller and name it as custom login. So here in the app, in the HTTP, in the controller, you will see custom controller. Is it created yet? Actually, you have to get into the subscriber 5 folder, and then you have to run the command for creating controller. The controller name is going to be custom login. Now once it is created, you will see a file called custom login. So we have to create a function now. We will be creating two functions. The first one will be responsible for showing the login underscore view, and the second one will be responsible for showing the register view, register. So what will happen when I search for login is that Laravel will get into routes web.php, and when there's a call for login, I want the Laravel to get into this controller, and this controller has a function called login view, and this is the name of the route. The same way, when there's a search for register, Laravel will get into this function register view, and this is the name. And let me just open HTML here in the desktop. It was a 29 index.html. Just copy the whole code and get into resources, views, auth. Here we have login, control alt delete and paste it. Here we have register, control alt delete and paste it. So in the custom login, when this function is called, just return the view, and the view is inside. This view has access till the views folder, and after the views folder you have to specify the path auth.login. The same way for register, it's register, because there is a file called login and register is already there. So if I search for, we don't need this, no, we may need this, let Control Shift T, and if I search for register, you will see the HTML but without CSS. So to make this CSS link, what you have to do is you have to get into the HTML, and you have to make all the related assets in one folder. In this case, all the CSS, all the JS and the vendor are in the folder called assets. So copy this and get into our Laravel project, which is subscriber file, get into public.html public folder and just paste it. And since it is done, what you have to do is you have to get into login, and simply you have to open the blade symbol and assets, ASSETS, it's a function, and you have to close the opened function right now, which you have opened, single quotes. Cool. The same way you have to do it for the script. I'm pressing Alt so we can have multiple cursor. I'm going to use Laravel function, so ASSETS, single quotes, and we have to close the functions round bracket and the Laravel blade. Now in the login you could see now call to undefined function AWS, I think it's just asset, Control H, replace all. So if I search for login, yes, it works fine. Now what we need to do is we need to create a template that will hold this header and footer. So in the auth folder, let's create a new folder and call it as layout, and inside layout folder let's create a new file and call it as app.blade.php. Now just copy whole HTML and just before the body and just after the body and just before the script tag, and whatever the relevant content you have to paste it inside the login and register. Now we have to call the app over here, so @extends and layout LAYOUT, and inside layout we have app, and then we'll be creating a container @wheeled, and we'll give a passcode called container. And now we have to surround this meet section with the passcode, and this section should end as well, so @end section, copy all and then paste it. And now when I search for login, you'll see layout.app is not found. Let's try auth, because it's inside the folder called auth. We want this HTML now. And if I make a refresh, and now it works fine. Since this is login and you want to change the title, what you can do is again you can create a yield and call it as title, and the same way you have to create a section, and this is the path code, and since it is login you can just have login and make sure to end section, copy this and get into register, and this time it's register. And if I search for register, just notice the title, it will turn to register. Cool. Now for the login page, let's just change the heading, and we just need the email and password. So accept email. Let's just see the login, how does it looks. We just need email, and you can copy it one more time for the password. This one we don't need. So we just have email and password. You can name this as password and input type. So just to see the text, you can make this as text. Cool. The same way we can have this in the register also. Register also needs a password while registering. So just below the email, it's better to have just below the email. Cool. Let this just be registration. And now if I click on register, let's see, do we have validation? No, we don't have validation. Cool. Now what we need to do is, when I click on submit, the data is being submitted somewhere. Let's just see where it is. The data is getting submitted to nowhere. So here in the form we'll have a action. So in the action we'll be saving the we'll be sending the data. So route, we are going to use the Laravel function. So route, and here inside the route we can see the URL, the name of the route as register submit. So this is the name of the route. We have to define this. This is going to be post because it's form submission. This is the URL, and this is the relevant function, and this is the name of the route. This name we are using here. Similarly, we can have for the login submit also. Once we complete the register submit. So in register, the method is already there. Since we are using Laravel, the @cross site request forgery is must, or else it won't get submitted. And now if you click on submit, you will see the URL change to login submit. And now we have to create the function. As we have mentioned in the controller, we will have this function. So let's copy this function and create. And this function will have all the input field data. How? Because this request object will hold the request, and we can access all the values by $request all, and what we'll do is we'll display it. And if you click on save, this function will display the data. Here you see we have first name, we have last name, we have company. Now we have to create these columns in the database. As of now we don't have any database, so let's create one. So PHP artisan. So before migrating, what we will do is we'll modify the table, user table. So here in the database, in the migration, you will see the user table, and here in the user table, what all data we need? We need first name, we need last name, we need company, we need email, we need password. Yes, password is there. We need area code, again it's a string. We need phone, and here you will see in the register there is a function, there is a input field called are you existing customer, yes or no. So here we will be creating a boolean value. So for that it would be boolean, and now here we are going to specify the data type is going to be boolean, and the column name is going to be registered, and by default it is going to be false. And now you see we are receiving the value as on. If it is on, then we will insert true. If it is off, then we will insert false. Cool. I think everything is ready. Name, first name, last name, then we have company, then we have email and password, then we have email and password. After email and password we have area code, phone, and is registered. Now we need to follow these column names in our register. So let's just take this closer, and where are the names of the form? This is the name, first name, and this is the last name, and this is the company, and this is the email, and this is the password, area code, phone, and finally for select we can have name as subject instead of, I think we don't need subject here, we can take the subject down. And then are you existing customer, both the radio button should have name common. So here in this case we are creating the name as is registered. So here is registered, and the value should be yes, or the value should be no, capital S and capital N. So let's just submit again and try. So now it is Y, that means Y was selected. Cool. Now it's time to create database table, PHP artisan migrate, and once you do this, all the table, that is like 5 tables, will be created in this database. If you click here on the database again, you'll see 5 tables. Make sure you are in the subscriber, and you can see 5 tables are created. If I click on users, all the columns which you have mentioned would also be created, first name, last name, company, email. And now what I need to do is, if I click on register, I don't want the null data to be passed, so in that case I'll be validating. So one thing what we can do is, let me just save this so that we don't have to copy it again and again. Cool. Now in the custom login, just before this we'll be writing the code for validate. What we will do is, we will store these two, area code and password, in one column instead of making this area code and pass phone. So we'll delete this and we'll keep only phone. If you click on structure and just click on area code, and you can just drop this, and now you can see I have added validation. Okay, now you'll see the first name is required, the last name is required, the company is required, the email is also required. It should be string, it should be of type email, it should have the maximum character of 255, and for each user the email should be unique. Now we have password. Again the same, the minimum password should be 8, so let's just make this 5. So the area code, again the maximum is 10. The registered, in registered we accept only 2 values, either it is yes or it is n. So now it is required, but it should be either of yes or n, so y or n. So that's cool. Now after that, once it is validated, we need to show the error. So if you click on submit, now it won't get submitted, instead you won't see anything. you won't see anything. There is no error also. So let's just display the error. So as of now, I have just added the first name validation. So we have a directory called @error, and we can display the error, and then we have closed the directory. Now if I click on submit, you will see an error. The field name is required. So this is coming from the lang. In the resources you will find lang. In the lang you will find validation. So here if I type required, so this field is required. Instead of that, we'll take the remove and we'll just say required. The field is required, that is the first name required. That's it. So you can see first name required. The same way you can do this for the rest of the input field. Make sure to change the name, or else, so just to say you what is first. So if you get into the condition, so if you look at this user, so this is first right now. If this is satisfied, then it will consider this as first. If these two are satisfied, then it will consider this as first. If these three are satisfied, then we'll consider this as first. So that is the reason why we have added first. The same way, let me just do this for all. Now if you click on submit, you will see error in all fields. Click on register and you see error in all field. Now if I type my first name and click on register, it will go away. So if you want this to stay, what you will do is, in the value attribute, value, again we are going to use the blade, so we have to type old and then we need to pass the name again. The same way, let me just show this. We have to pass the name. So if you type the first name and last name and click on register, you will see the first name and last name is going to remain even after you register. So likewise you can add this to all the field. So in case if there is a validation error, then also your value which you have entered will remain same. Your value will persist even the page is getting even if the page get refresh. Cool. Now it's time to insert values into the database. Before inserting values, we need to import our model called user. So I have imported the model user. I have imported the auth class. I have imported the hash because we'll convert our text password into hash password, and we'll be using session to send the data between two pages. Cool. Now since we are using model, then now we can use the model to insert value into the database. Now what we will do is, we'll get the request and store it into the array. So this array can be accessed as an associative array with name index. And now what I have done is, I have used the model and accessed all the column names of the table. So these are the column names and these are the relevant input field name attributes. So get the first name and save it in the first name column, get the last name input field and save it in the last name column. The same way email, the same way I'm getting the password and converting into hash format and saving it into the column. Now in the area code and phone number, so here what I did is, we need to combine the area code and the phone and send it as phone number. And now we can concatenate. So here we'll get the area code and we'll get the phone and save it into a variable, and this variable will save both the area code and phone together. And finally here we'll be getting yes or no, but we want it to be true or false. So in that case we'll be using the ternary operator. If this is yes, then insert the value true or false. So instead of string, we can insert it as a constant variable, true and false. if everything goes well, we need to redirect to the route called register view. So in the web, register view with the message saying that registered successfully, and we can display this message just below our button. So here we can display the message with session since we are passing the message. So if the session has message, then get the message and display the login also. So here we need to display the login view. So login view, just copy this, the name route. So if everything gets saved properly, so Vishal, surname, company name, email address, the same is for password, the phone number, area code, some random values, and are you existing customer? No. Click on register. So it says nothing. So that means it has not got saved, and there is no details of error also. Let's check again. So what we can do is just make a comment of this, and let's just see dump and die, and the same password, phone number, and 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. No. Click on submit, and Vishal, company name, password, and everything seems fine. I found the error. Making it required was the issue. So if you remove it, and if you try to register UI monk, company name, email, password, some random number, you are registered successful, and click on login. And now the same way you have to do this for the login as well. So just copy the code for the CSR of token and the submit, and here in this case it's going to be login submit, and of course we would be having the validation and the error message, the name attribute, cool. Now again we would be having another function for login submit, and we will be validating it, and we'll be storing the values into the variable called data, and here in this case instead of all it is going to be only, and then we'll use the authentication class. If the data that we have received, which is email and password, is correct, then execute this block. If it is wrong, then redirect them to the login page saying that login failed. So for the message also, just below your button, we'll just copy this code for displaying the message, and just below the button say the message if it is login failed. Refresh it. Login submit is not defined. Actually I have commented it before checking. Now if I type some random value, you should get the message saying that login failed, and in the login you can just say in the button as login. If you click on login, if you type some random values, login failed. Cool. Now if it is right, what should happen? If the login is right, then get the logged in ID. What do you mean by that? Get the ID of the logged in user. So here in the phpMyAdmin you will find this is the ID you will get. So once we get this ID, we can get the whole row. You can see you can get the whole row by querying it. So I'm using the query find and passing the user ID and storing the whole row data into a variable called user data, and I'm putting that user data into the session. So if our website has 5 pages, so for all of the 5 pages we'll have access to this user data. And now we have to redirect them to the login page. So nothing but we can redirect them to the home. So how the home will look like, so here make sure your home is there. Yeah, your home is there. So here in the resources, views, home, we don't need this login, so we can just say hello. So if your logged in is right, if I login is right, that means let's create an account. So this is already taken. UI Monk 2. This is also taken. 5. It says registered successfully. Now we can use this credentials, and once it is success, you will see the home page. And now if I click on logout, it should get logged out. So for that I have to create a URL again. So let's just be login, logout, and this is the function, and this is the name. So in the custom login, again we'll be creating a function naming login logout over here. First use the authentication class to log out, and then expire the session, delete the session you have created, and then redirect them to the login page. Cool. And now you have to use this URL. So this URL in the header, what you see here, can be found from the resources, views, layout, app, and search for login or logout. And here the method is post. Make sure your method is post. Yeah, this is post, so let this be post. And now you have to use the URL or the route name. You can see the route name. Cool. Now if you click on logout, you will get logged out, and your session would be deleted. But there is a problem here. If I search for home, I'll have access to it. I don't want that. So here there is some route called login. We can delete that, certainly. Maybe it would be coming from the route. Now if you see in the controller, we have to get into the controller. Actually there is a default controller called home controller. Let's see home controller, and here you can see, let me just remove this auth. Let's try it. Yes, you have access. Now the problem is, even if I am not logged in, I have access to this. So to stop that, we need to create a middleware. Let me create a middleware. Let me get the code for the middleware first. So to create middleware, it's very simple. It's just like creating your controller, and the middleware name is login check. So you can find the middleware in the app http middleware login check. So what will happen is, just if you hit the URL, Laravel will check all the middleware if there is any condition. So if I hit the URL home, I want the middleware to check if the user is logged in or not. So to see if the user is logged in or not, you can simply call if the user is logged in or not, else if the user is logged in, then proceed to the next request. If the user is not logged in, then redirect them to the login view. So return, just redirect them to login view. So just after creating middleware, you need to register this middleware in the kernel. You can see in the kernel, just get into the middleware route middleware and call the classes and give a nickname to your middleware. So the class has a nickname called login check. Now you need to get into the web.php and you need to find which URL you want to restrict. I want the URL home to get restricted, then call that, and you have to create a route group for that. So let me create a route group, and you have to, inside the route group, you have to paste which all URL you want to protect. In this case it's just home, and the middleware which is going to check for the condition is the login check, which is the nickname of the class login check. And now if I search for the home without logging in, I would be redirected to the target class does not exist. Let me see, there's a problem. I think I have not saved it in the kernel. So if I search for home, I would get redirected to the login page. If I search for home, I won't have access to it. Now if I used the data which I have used while logging in, which is this URL, if I click on login, now I will have access to it. So if I log out again and if I try to access it, I won't be able to access it. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for listening.